The Sportscast, March 15th, 2021. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, Periscope, iTunes, and if you're an Apple Podcast, please leave a rating and review. It will help us out tremendously. And, of course, you can visit us on thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net, or on our iOS app, The Sportscast. iOS meaning iPhone. March Madness 2021 has been revealed. This is the COVID tournament, they calling it. Last year there was no COVID. 1 year ago, when Rudy Gobert, which he's an NBA guy, canceled sports. Well, not him, but he got the virus, and sports was canceled for a few months. And the big question back then was, can March Madness happen? At first they were going to say, yeah, we could, have no fans. Okay, so they said no fans. And then afterwards they just canceled it completely. So this is the first March Madness in two years. So it's quite interesting, the whole dynamic of this tournament and how much anticipation. One of the big minuses this year is Duke not participating due to COVID protocols, and I believe one other team, and I'm not going to say it, Virginia. Anyways, we got someone that is a March Madness expert and also who coaches basketball in a professional level. Ryan Krista, all the way from upstate New York, Rochester. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
Santiago, what a beautiful day. Welcome to Bracket Monday.
Ryan, you emphasize this month more than the NFL playoffs, but hey, all power to you.
Yeah, it's just a great American tradition, March Madness. It's so interesting being, a college football and college basketball lunatic here as I am. How in college football, the regular season is so important. And if you're not, one of the four teams, it's, the rest of the bowl games are becoming obsolete almost. Well, the college basketball regular season is almost the same as the bowl season. It's not a lot of attention, but then you get to March and everybody, everybody's, jumping on board. But, let me kind of recap everybody up to speed, as I go through this tournament, as you help you fill out those brackets, because a lot of you may not pay attention from November to March. Let me help you out here during this podcast here to help you fill out your brackets correctly.
Yes, and you got till Friday, right, Ryan? Or till Thursday night to fill them out. If you're putting money into it, listen to Ryan. He's pretty good at predicting these things. No one has ever predicted a perfect bracket. I believe Pat Robertson came close one year. But 100% accuracy, it's hard.
Yeah, so here's the little difference. So each team, we'll talk about some of the, you talked a little bit about Duke not being able to compete. Well, they weren't going to make it anyways, so that's obsolete. Virginia, Kansas, are the two teams right now who had their games postponed last weekend. Everybody's holding their breath. So we have the 68 teams. We got those two teams that are, on ice right now. If they're unable to compete by tomorrow, we've already got four teams that are lined up to replace them. Starting off, let's just say Virginia can't play in the tournament. Louisville would step in their place as the fourth seed. That's just how it is. It's not. They don't rework the bracket. Once the bracket's out, that's how it looks.
So Virginia could still play.
Yeah, Virginia, they're scheduled to play. They're the fourth seed in the West region. Scheduled to play Ohio. But they have till tomorrow, and if they say they can play by, and then they end up can't playing, then Ohio will move on to the next round. So, it's just kind of the way, living's a little bit different, but that's COVID, and the selection's always so sweet yesterday after a year of not having it, just to see those brackets out, Yes, it's a little different. Yes, we're kind of in a micro bubble here in Indianapolis, but it's better than nothing.
Exactly. This will be a bubble style, be in one location, and previously would be in four different locations. This time is one for COVID protocols, and we'll go over what's going to happen, who can go, who cannot go in the stands, but it'll definitely be a quieter scenario. Ryan, you can do the honors. Which part of the bracket do you want to start? The West, South, North, or East, or Midwest?
Let's start in the West.
Let's go in the West. Number 1, Gonzaga against Norfolk State or Appalachian State. Gonzaga has been the heavy favorites to win the whole thing. They've been undefeated in the regular season. Ryan, Krista, who do you got there?
Obviously, this is a kind of a slam dunk start to the prediction. Gonzaga undefeated regular season, shouldn't have any trouble with either Norfolk State or Appalachian State, whoever it may be.
Who do you think would be a better challenger between the two, Norfolk or Appalachian State?
For the little that I've seen I saw a little bit of Norfolk State a couple months ago. Decent team, just doesn't have. They're kind of athletic, but they're not in the same heights. They're very undersized. Appalachian State is a team that caught fire here a couple weeks ago. I don't think they were that great, but they caught hot at the right time. That's they're in the Sun Belt, which usually produces a 13 or 14 seed, because you got one of your middle of the road teams win the conference tournament that turns into a first 4 matchup for a Sun Belt team. So Appalachian State, known as more of a football powerhouse, gets their first tournament appearance, and I think since it was in '94, I think I read. So welcome to the dance to the Mountaineers. But whether whoever wins that game will be a short stay Saturday night in Indianapolis. So, but Gonzaga going for the first undefeated season since Indiana.
Next match, Oklahoma, Missouri. Oklahoma is number 8. Number 9 is Missouri. Ryan, who do you got with this matchup much closer than the previous one?
A couple weeks ago, you would probably see these two teams in the 5 to 6 range. Both teams are free-falling pretty quickly. So this is your always unbelievably difficult matchup, the 8-9 matchups, which I think all 4 of them, there's no more than a 2-point spread right now in all 4 8-9 games. So basically you put 2 teams in a hat and you pull it out. This is a very tough, seeing both teams play a lot, Missouri's more of a one-man show in Tillman. Oklahoma's, when they're playing good, they're balanced. But their losers, I think 5 out of 6 games, only win against lowly Iowa State. So I'm going to go with the Tigers to win this game.
Missouri Tigers. Next one, Creighton versus UCSB.
University of California, Santa Barbara. You know any famous alumni from Santa Barbara?
I do not recall, but when I think of Santa Barbara, I think of Habit Burger Grill, which they're I think they're headquartered there.
I think of Mr. Radio personality Jim Rome when I think of UC Santa Barbara. But there, this is the 5-12 matchups that tend to be, the big upset picks. For some reason, I don't know, the committee just loves to, throw the overachieving mid-major maybe, against a powerhouse like Creighton. So I haven't seen a lot of Santa Barbara. I saw the championship game. They're very impressive. But Creighton coming off a really good season, a tough ending, though, against Georgetown, who we'll talk about later, in the same matchup, 5-12 matchup. Really destroyed them in the championship game, but I think Creighton will win this game.
Creighton is going to win this game. By the way, I am filling this bracket in real time. So, anyways, for people that are interested. Next one, pending Virginia against a Ohio, number 13 Ohio. Virginia's number 4. Ryan, what's going to happen there with the Cavaliers?
So right now, Virginia has, a positive case, which is a tier 1. So basically everybody's contract traced. And basically, that person who we don't know who it is not going to play in the tournament. We don't know. But what we do know is if everything goes well, the rest of the team will leave Thursday night or Friday morning to head to Indianapolis. So, and they're not going to practice from then. So this is really a great chance for the Ohio Bobcats, who really came on strong in the MAC tournament. So my Virginia, it's hard to go against, what we still is the defending champion because there was no tournament last year. I'm gonna say UVA will win this game, but it will be a close game if they do play.
USC number 6 USC versus number 11. It could it could be Wichita State or Drake. What do you got?
I'm gonna go whoever it is. I'm gonna go USC. Evan Mobley, player to watch. Good. Freshman for USC, does everything for them. I don't think either Drake or Wichita State will have an answer for them. It's nice to see both of those two teams, coming from the mid-major market to make it in there, even though they didn't win their conference tournament. The committee definitely respected, a good body of work by both teams. But I will say, whoever wins that game, USC. I'll just say, I think Wichita State will win, but in Southern California will beat Wichita State in that first round.
Number 3 Kansas versus Eastern Washington.
Kansas, another team. I think they're in a little better shape than UVA in the sense that I think should be able to make it, and they should be able to beat the Eagles from Eastern Washington. So Kansas
Jayhawks. Oregon Ducks. Tyler Turner's team against VCU number 10. Oregon is a numbers Evan. Who do you got? It's a bit closer matchup there.
Yeah, again, 7-10 can be a little tricky too. I gotta go Oregon. VCU, they're a defensive-driven team. They'll press you. They don't have they got a guy named Evan Hilliard. I'm sorry, Ike Hilliard, former football player. Sorry about that. Evan Hilliard, who will do all their scoring. But they will press you. They'll play hard. Very athletic. But I think they'll lack in scoring. I think the Ducks should be able to pull this game out.
Oregon, you're going with the Ducks. Number 2 Iowa against number 15 Grand Canyon.
All right. Grand Canyon, Santiago is I like to say, is the poor man's Liberty University, trying to do their thing out there in the West Coast, but led by former Valparaiso star, Vanderbilt coach, and brother of Baylor coach Scott Drew, Bryce Drew, leading the Antelopes out against Luca Garza, and probably the player of the year in the college basketball this year. The Hawkeyes should win this game pretty easily.
The Hawkeyes. Okay, we're done with the West. Ryan, you want to go East, South, or Midwest?
Let's just keep on going down. Let's go East.
Okay, number 1 Michigan versus Mount St. Mary's or Texas South.
Texas Southern, yeah.
Who do you have between Mount St. Mary's versus Texas South, and then versus Michigan?
I'm going to go Texas Southern. You really, pretty consistent program in the Southwest Athletic Conference. Athletic led by Coach Mike Davis, former Indiana coach. They should win that game, I believe, but they will be taken down by Michigan and former NBA Fab Five player Juwan Howard. And Michigan should win this game against Texas Southern.
Michigan, the Wolverines. LSU versus Saint Bonaventure.
Santiago, this game hits home. Local team, Saint Bonaventure. If you ever come to Western New York, you will have to go out to Olean, New York to visit Saint Bonaventure. What a crazy little college town Olean, New York is. Against, SEC powerhouse Louisiana. This is a great, the coolness about the NCAA tournament is every team's got a story of it, but it comes from a different place, and that what a contrast and differences in universities. I am going to go with my heart in this and St. Bonaventure.
St. Bon over LSU Tigers. Let's go Colorado versus Georgetown, which you have something to say about Georgetown.
Yes, Georgetown, a team 2 weeks ago, was probably contemplating that they made the right hire and bringing in former star Patrick Ewing to coach that team, but
which he was not allowed at Madison Square Garden last week. Keep going.
Well, he was allowed. It's just funny, being former Knicks superstar, he had to show his security badge to get into, but it was just kind of a joke after. But Colorado, pretty solid team. Tad Boyle's got his team playing well. I just think the Magic will run out for the Hoyas, and the Buffalo should win this game.
Colorado Buffaloes. You know what? I know that's so much about that team because we invited so much Pac-12 people to the sportscast. And anyways, Florida State second. Two Florida teams made it this year, and they're going up against UNC Greensboro. Ryan, what's going on there?
Florida State looks like every Florida State team that's ever been, since years. They're tall, they're athletic, they play hard defense. They're gonna, pressure the ball. They're kind of cookie cutter in the way, type of players. Yes, they're relentless. Which could drive, UNC Greensboro crazy. But UNC Greensboro is well coached by former UNC basketball player Wes Miller. I think this will be a nail biter, but I think Florida State, the athleticism will be, winning out in the end.
The school that Jameis Winston went and might be starting quarterback. Anyways, BYU. Okay, first, who you got between Michigan State and UCLA? Those are two heavy hitters. Who you got there?
Yeah, two blue bloods playing the first four. Michigan State's probably a little miffed that they won games against three other top five teams in the country. But they have some bad losses, so they're stuck in the first four against an average UCLA team that they never peak, but they never hit bottom. They just kind of tread water all year. I'm going to go Michigan State.
Okay, and then they go against BYU, which is a Mormon school.
Yes, BYU, the only team to really give Gonzaga trouble throughout the regular season. They were up by 12 points against the Bulldogs, the WCC championship game last week. So very fundamentally sound team, very tall and lanky. I don't think they're as good as some of the BYU teams in the past, but just so well coached. They're a fun team to watch, and I think they'll beat Michigan State.
Wow, it's interesting. Michigan State, UCLA. I mean, these are like UCLA. That's where Russell Westbrook went. Kevin Love went. Michigan State won the tournament a couple years ago. I mean, this is pretty early for that face-off.
Yeah, like I said, these two teams, aren't having. This is definitely the year, not the year for the Blue Bloods. You don't have Duke, you don't have Kentucky. Michigan State, UCLA barely got in. North
Carolina,
open. I think
it's wide open.
It's a 9 seed, so it's a year of COVID, so it's a year of unpredictability. So a lot of new faces to the dance.
Texas matchup here, Texas versus Abilene Christian. No, sorry, Abilene Christian it is in Texas.
Yeah, Abilene Christian.
Ryan, who you got there with the Texas Derby?
San Diego, I don't think many people have heard of Abilene Christian before. Yesterday is 6. Whenever they came out, 6:15. This bracket. They're I've read a lot. I've seen a little bit of their games. They will give Texas a lot of trouble, but in the end, Texas is just playing well. First team from Texas to ever win the Big 12 tournament, Santiago. That is a fun fact for trivia. They're playing too well, Texas. It's hard for them I could imagine losing to them. So Horns should win.
Let's go to the Upper East, Yukon versus Maryland. This is a good matchup, close matchup. Who you got up in the North? Yukon has a lot of history. The Terps as well. Ryan, who you got?
Yukon is back. Danny Hurley, finally putting his blueprint. They're back in the Big East where they belong. Things are turning up for Yukon. This is not a championship team, but the future is bright for the Huskies. The Terps are up and down all year. They got to win against Michigan State in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, which kind of put them in the big tournament before losing to Michigan. I'm going to say Yukon wins this game.
Yukon, which they do have a good women's team, but Clemson, man, it's hit or miss.
Team, I think that's an underestimate, San Diego.
Exactly. They're like the Brazil in college basketball. Alabama versus Iona. Alabama's number 2. Iona's number 15, an Alabama team that has not been doing well these past couple of years. This year they flipped, and they're completely good. Justin Riley says, if Herb Jones and Javon Quinerly continues to play at a high level, Alabama is in the Elite 8. Ryan, what you got? This might be close, you think?
I definitely think this is going to be close. Alabama should definitely play in their A games. This is definitely not your average 2-15 matchup. I think the only reason Iona is a 15 seed is that they basically didn't play basketball for 6 weeks, Santiago.
That's a lot
due
of
to
time.
COVID. They've only got 17 games. They're 12-5.
So they're well rested.
Four of those games, 4 of those wins came in the last 4 days, in their tournament, so but they blew through their, the other MAAC, Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, not the Mid-America Conference represented by Ohio. But they're coached by one Rick Pitino, who will turn this, I think, Iona, into a mid-major powerhouse here. I don't think they're going to win this game because, like you said, Alabama insider Justin Riley gave a lot of good points. Herb Jones is Swiss Army knife inside. He's not a great scorer. He's not the best defender, but he's not the best shot blocker. But I don't think there's a guy in America who does everything that well like Herb Jones is. They shoot the ball. The thing about Alabama, they live and die by the 3-point shot. I think they'll have enough athleticism over Iona, even if they don't shoot the ball good. But, the pressure Iona will put on Alabama will make this game, I think, tight for at least, 1.5 halves. So, yeah, definitely going to the second half. But I think Alabama should pull away.
And is Alabama a Elite 8 squad?
Oh, absolutely, Santiago. As long as they, as the competition goes on, they're gonna have to continue to shoot the ball well. A game potentially against Connecticut in the second round could loom danger, but I think they'll be okay.
Baylor University versus Hartford. We're starting in the South bracket. Ryan, I don't think you're gonna think too much about this one.
Baylor. Let's move on. Hartford, good story. First time in the tournament. Good job for the Northeast Conference champion or American East champion. I'm sorry, but the tournament. Their stay in the tournament will be about 2 hours.
North Carolina Tar Heels against Wisconsin Badgers. What do you got in that match?
Again, really the lone blue blood, not either in the tournament, not in the first four. So. A lot of pressure on North Carolina, definitely not a vintage Tar Heel team, but they do have athleticism. They're not a walkover. Wisconsin a couple weeks ago, I think looked like a top 4 seed, but they're falling fast. I think North Carolina wins this game.
UNC Tar Heels, Baby Blue wins. Villanova versus Winthrop, a Villanova team that a lot of people are saying could be a Cinderella team. Ryan, what are your thoughts? Winthrop. Winthrop, I mean.
Well, Winthrop definitely to circle this game. This is gonna. I think if you'll ever see the end of the day, it reminds me a couple of years ago, Middle Tennessee State was a 12 seed versus 5 seed Minnesota.
I remember.
And Middle Tennessee State was a favorite to win that game, and I think you might see this. I haven't seen the line on this, but. I would not be surprised if Winthrop will be the favorite to win this game. They're well underseeded. I think this is they're 23-1, Santiago. I know they play in the Big South, but they're crushing everybody. This is a really good team. I think they'll beat Villanova. Villanova's trending way down. They lost you blew a huge lead to eventual champion Georgetown, but this is not I'm going Winthrop Eagles in this game.
Winthrop Eagles, and let's see how deep they go. Purdue, Indiana team versus North Texas. Ryan, who you got?
Purdue, you gotta like the home court advantage, and I know they won't be playing in their own home court, which will be one of the venues, Mackey Arena.
But makes a difference, I think.
I will, they can stay in their own area. I think, North Texas is a good story. The Mean Green. I think this will be a good game. Purdue is just a really balanced team. I don't think they have a superstar in their team. They're tall, they're lanky, and they shoot the ball well. Purdue wins this game.
Purdue wins it. Texas Tech versus Utah State, 6 versus 11.
Red Raiders, Texas Tech should win this game. Aggies are, fundamentally sound team. I think it'll be a very low-scoring game, playing probably in the early 50s. Both teams are pretty deliberate, but I think Texas Tech has just got a little bit more in the arsenal.
Arkansas versus Colgate.
I think the hottest team in America. I know they lost in the semis at LSU, but Arkansas winners of 8 out of 9 games now. So they play you hard. Eric Musselman's got it really going on down in Fayetteville. Colgate, good story. Again, small college in middle of nowhere, New York. Won't have enough athleticism to keep up with Arkansas.
Arkansas, it is. Florida, your Florida Gators versus Virginia Tech, two teams you're very familiar with.
Yeah, Florida, I think very lucky seed. I don't know if they really deserve the 7th seed. And Virginia Tech, due to COVID, hasn't played much lately. They kind of hit their stride in the middle of the season, faltered, and then they hit COVID the last couple weeks. Got blown out by North Carolina in the ACC tournament last week. Two teams that I don't think are really trending up. Again, you get this a lot of times, 8, 9, 7, 10 matchups. I'm going to go with the Gators. I think they just a little bit more well-rounded of a team than the Hokies.
Of course, you would say that. Next, number 2, Ohio State versus number 15, Oral Roberts University, another Christian school in the March Madness. Who do you got there?
I think Ohio State will, has a lot more talent than Oral Roberts. Playing well, they this week in Big Ten tournament came, very close to winning the game yesterday against Illinois. They should have really no trouble with Oral Roberts. Chris Holtman's really done a great job of, bringing back the tradition of Ohio State basketball.
A solid basketball school from Oral Roberts. Illinois, Illy versus Drexel, number 1 versus 16.
Illinois should have no trouble with the Dragons of Drexel. Nice to see the Dragons back in the tournament. First time in a long time. A once power in the Philadelphia area. It is a side story. There's no city that loves college basketball more than the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home of Villanova, St. Joe's, Penn, LaSalle, Drexel. There's a lot of good basketball going on.
On there, yeah. When it comes to basketball,
but at the same time, they don't have the athletes that Illinois has, and it should be no trouble for the Illini.
Number 8, Loyola Chicago versus number 9, Georgia Tech.
The Ramblers are back here, Santiago. Coming off from 2 years ago, that Final Four run with iconic fan Sister Jean, everybody's favorite fan, going against ACC champion Georgia Tech. I've been thinking about this game a lot. Usually, I think a lot of the A9 games there, I'm looking at it and both teams are kind of trending down. And they kind of just meet in the middle. These are two teams that are trending up. Both are conference champions. Georgia Tech might have a little bit more athleticism. I just love the way Loyola Chicago does it and does it their way each and every game they play. They're very, very methodical. They play hard-nosed defense. So Georgia Tech, Josh Pastner finally, was kind of this boy wonder first couple years in Memphis and then fell in hard times. And again, he really hadn't found much success in Georgia Tech until the last couple of weeks. So, here you go. They're full throttle here. Let's go Loyola.
Loyola wins against Georgia Tech. Ryan says it is the closest matchup in the first round. Tennessee Volunteers, Oregon State Beavers. Ryan, number 5 versus 12. Who you got there?
Oregon State, one of the, like a Georgetown bit stealer, team that probably no one was talking about before the beginning of last week, goes on a big run in the Pac-12 tournament, ends up being, winning it this weekend, so props to the Beavers and Wayne Tinkle, for really having success there, getting to a tournament. But, Tennessee, a team that's been up and down all year. It once was a top 5 team, fell back. Now they're kind of trending up a little bit. I'm going to go with the Volunteers to win this game.
Tennessee wins. Oklahoma State versus Liberty University, our alma mater. Oklahoma State's number 4. Liberty's is number 13. They were actually the first to qualify to March Madness. Ryan, break it down.
Santiago, this will be a good matchup. This is not the Liberty team that we had a couple of years ago that beat Mississippi State and came very close to being Virginia Tech. But this is not a slouch either. They have some of those same parts there. This might be a better offensive team than a couple of years ago, but they just don't have, they're not as well, well-rounded as a team a couple years ago. But it's sad because I think last year that was the best team Liberty's ever had, but didn't really get a chance to show it off in the tournament. They returns a couple players and they go back and run the table again in Atlantic. So, but they're going against K Cunningham, and I think if Arkansas is the hottest team in America, Oklahoma State might be the second hottest team in America. This is going to be very tough for Liberty. My heart says let's go Flames. Santiago, for people giving expert advice, I think I'll go Oklahoma State, but I will be cheering my heart out for me to be wrong.
Yeah, Ryan. A lot of people are putting a lot of money into this, so you got to pick what your mind says.
Yes.
Number 6, San Diego State versus number 11, Syracuse, one team you're very familiar with. San Diego, I'm not sure who you got there.
San Diego State, back in the tournament, after one Steve Fisher, legendary coach of, San Diego State retires. Again, great team, played hard-nosed, Mountain West basketball, which is very physical. Going against Jim Boeheim, the legendary Syracuse coach in 2-3 zone. Syracuse is definitely hit or miss. I'm going to go Syracuse because I think they just have a little more talent. I don't think they ever reached it this year because they've shown, moments where they peaked. I think they'll have just enough to beat the Aztecs this week.
Go Orange. West Virginia versus Moorhead State, number 3 versus 14.
West Virginia should win this game pretty easily. Moorhead State, a very, very fundamentally sound team, beat what I think an overwhelming favorite in the Ohio Valley Conference in Belmont, which, is a good surprise for, upset for them, But I think Mountaineers, again, playing well. I think the only team they've struggled against with West Virginia the last couple weeks has been Oklahoma State. So they won't see them until I think the regionals here. So they should be good, at least in this game, for West Virginia.
Number 7, Clemson versus number 10, Rutgers.
Welcome to the tournament, the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers.
The only New Jersey team here. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, this is the first time, and I think I want to say it's been a very long time if ever the Rutgers has ever made the NCAA tournament. So this is a historic team. This is not a great Rutgers team. This is a team that's building a legacy for this, foundation for future Rutgers team. But they did play through a very tough Big Ten season, and I know the record isn't good, but they weathered games against a lot of good teams there in the Big Ten. Clemson, tough loss in the ACC tournament to Miami. Brad Brunell is a very good defensive coach. They, again, a team that lacks offense. This game could get ugly, Santiago, in the sense of points will come at a premium. I don't expect the first team that gets to 60 will definitely win this game. But it's history here, Santiago. Let's go Rutgers.
Rutgers, New Jersey. I'm doing this real time. People are seeing when I'm writing this right now. Number 2, Houston versus number 15, Cleveland State.
This is Calvin Sampson, since Santiago is rejuvenating his coaching career. Once legendary Oklahoma coach, and then found trouble as an Indiana Hoosiers coach. Where do people point to the trouble of Indiana basketball? It's probably where they started when they went on probation under Calvin Sampson. But finding success again in Houston, this is a real well-rounded team. I think that will win this game, and I think make a lot of noise in the NCAA tournament. They had some puzzling losses. The puzzling loss to East Carolina, which is a really bad team in their conference. That's probably why they're not a 1 seed, because I think they would be a 1 seed without that loss. If they're 24-2 with 2 okay losses, it's kind of puzzling. But I don't think Cleveland State will give them much of a trouble. Cleveland State is a very fundamental. Or they play good defense. They play defense all across the whole court. I just don't think they have. Again, a lot reminds me of VCU team. I don't think they're as good as VCU, but in the sense that their best offense is their defense.
Houston, it is. Okay, how you doing with time?
Let's see.
It's 1:00.
1 o'clock. Let's finish this next round, San Diego, and then we'll do part 2 a little bit later.
Hey, that sounds like a plan. Okay, Gonzaga, Missouri for the second round. Who do you got there?
Let's go Gonzaga. I think this will be a good test for Gonzaga. I think this will be, but I think the Bulldogs have a little too much for them.
Creighton versus Virginia, if they make it.
I think I'm gonna go Creighton because I'm not sure. Like I said, I picked Virginia, which is, I don't think you'll write that in stone there. But so no matter if Virginia doesn't make it, or if it's Ohio, or if it's Louisville, I think Creighton will win that next game.
USC versus Kansas.
I think Kansas is a little bit deeper. Team USC will have the best player on the court, but I think Kansas has more talent around them, so I'm going Jayhawks.
Go Jayhawks. Okay, Oregon versus Iowa.
Again, well, I think this is Iowa. As long as they play good defense, should be able to outlast the Ducks in this one. So I'm going Hawkeyes.
Go Hawkeyes. Midwest. Michigan versus Saint Bonaventure.
Again, I think St. Bonaventure will give it everything they want, but I think Michigan is just obviously a little too much talent, size, and athleticism for the Bonnies.
Michigan having an easy. Colorado Buffaloes at the versus the FSU Noles.
Very good defensive battle here between Leonard Hamilton and Tad Boyle. I'm gonna go Florida State.
Florida State. BYU versus Texas. All Texas. Another Texas matchup here.
Oh, well, BYU's in Utah, but
oh yeah, it is. My bad. I was thinking about Baylor. My bad. I got confused there with the B's.
It's not good, but I'm gonna go with the team from Texas, the Longhorns, to win the game.
Texas. It is Yukon versus Roll Tide, Alabama.
Again, Alabama, as long as they shoot the ball halfway decent, should win these first 2 games and make it to the Sweet 16.
Well, Ryan's saying it. Baylor, UNC. You got to go?
Yeah, I got a lot. No. I said I got a lot of chalk here. And I had too many upsets on the board for me.
Okay, anyways. Baylor, UNC.
This is I'm going to go Baylor. I think I'm very tempted to go UNC in this one, but I think Baylor just a little more well-rounded right now, more veteran team than North Carolina.
Guys, excuse my handwriting. It's horrible. Winthrop versus Purdue.
Again, this is I'm going to carry that momentum. I think the Eagles make it into the Sweet 16. I'm going to go Winthrop.
I'm telling you, dude, a lot of people have been talking about it, but, you got to prove it in the point. I mean, you got to prove it in the court, and the games have to be played.
As I'm saying this, I don't think I'm saying anything out that I think a lot of other experts might say. That's a very trendy pick, and it's a trendy pick for a reason. They're 23-1. They're a great team.
No pressure, Ryan. No, I mean, someone is betting $10,000 on this, and they're dependent on us.
I just want to cut it at then if they're using our bracket.
Anyways, Texas Tech versus Arkansas.
I'm going to go to Hogs to win this. I just think there's a lot of talent in that Arkansas team, and they just playing very well together.
Arkansas. Florida versus Ohio State. Wow, that's a good matchup.
I don't want to pick the Gators San Diego, but my head says Ohio State should win that game. They're very balanced team. Florida can be go cold, and they can struggle on offense at times, and I think Ohio State's just they can play great defense and they can get baskets consistently, which is key in March.
Illinois versus Loyola. Wow.
Battle of Chicago, Santiago, but
Illinois.
Illinois. Yeah, Illinois is tough. I'm going with the Illini.
Tennessee versus Oklahoma State.
Hey, if I'm going to say Oklahoma State to beat Liberty, I'm going to say they're going to make it to the Sweet 16. I think the Cowboys advance under future number 1 pick Cade Cunningham.
I actually know someone in Oklahoma State. Anyways, Syracuse versus West Virginia Mountaineers.
An old school Big East showdown there, Santiago.
It is. Wow. It's pretty close, too.
I think that I'm going to go West Virginia to win this.
WVA. Rutgers versus Houston.
Yeah. Houston is just a better basketball team. I think Rutgers it's fun to be there. I think they made such great strides, and I think they're going to be, a team to be reckoning with in the Big Ten for a long time. This is not a one show pony, because this is a team that would have gotten the NCAA tournament last year, so they're just building on this success.
All right, guys, I'll be taking the picture of this. We'll be finishing off this bracket later, not today, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. Wednesday's good, right? We'll know Virginia if they're in by then, right?
Yeah, we'll know then, and we can make adjustments to our bracket, based on that. So, yeah, let's do it Wednesday.
Let's do it Wednesday. Ryan will be available Wednesday. I got a Champions League show that day as well, so we're going to double it up with Ryan. Okay, before we go, Ryan, your thoughts on Drew Brees retiring at 42 years old after 20 seasons?
What a guy, I remember being where I was, I think we were juniors in college, Santiago. It was winter break. I was just about headed to Thailand, and he was the starting quarterback for the Chargers, and they just had drafted his replacement, Phillip Rivers. And John Lynch, he drops back in the last game of the season, and John Lynch rips his shoulder off his arm, I swear. His arm off his shoulder, and everybody thought, oh, that's his career. This is the guy who doesn't have a good arm, and now he's got a bad shoulder. So that, the future, the rest of the history for the Chargers, they bring in Phillip Rivers, have a lot of success. But, he was looking for a job, and, the Dolphins basically had a choice between him and Dante Culpepper, and they chose Dante Culpepper, and the Dolphins, well, we know what's happened to the Dolphins since then. And what's happened to the Saints, consistent playoff team, Super Bowl champion, going into his time in New Orleans, had only been one 5,000-yard passer. Since then, he's done it 5 times, Santiago.
And it is
put up record numbers. I think, we talk about Belichick and Brady, but, next below that, you got to talk about Peyton and Sean Payton and Drew Brees. What a combo they had. So
something not really talked about as much.
Yeah. I think that, it was just a match made. The state of New Orleans was looking for, something after Hurricane Katrina. His devotion to the city and to the area. I think it goes beyond the football field, the impact he left in that area. And he really turned around a franchise that had little or no, growing up, the Saints were always a team, if your team played the Saints, okay, you're going to win that game. But, since, 2006, 7, whatever it was when he came over, you hope, to compete against the Saints, when you played against the Drew Brees-led teams. So his impact will be felt. I don't know. I think if this showed it wasn't so bad as it is right now, I think he would be back next year. But I think he took some time, evaluated, and just realized that he just couldn't do it.
Or just time to hang it up.
It's time, but he's a competitive person. He lost to Tom Brady. He played a pretty bad game against the Buccaneers. It's not the way you want to go out, Santiago. So I think the hope was that he'd at least make it to the Super Bowl, but obviously that didn't happen. So he did hang it up. I think he realized there wasn't anything left in the tank, and it's time for the Saints to turn the corner. And I think they just did some remarkable deal with Taysom Hill, I read this morning. So.
It's just a restructuring. People are saying don't read into it too much, which leads us to our next question, which is a poll question on our Sportscast Twitter. Who will replace Drew Brees for Saints quarterback? And the options are Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, or someone else.
I mean, this year I think Taysom Hill will get the first crack. I think Jameis Winston will play some because I think Taysom Hill will struggle. and I think they will be looking for their future quarterback this time next year.
The poll has Jameis Winston winning at 58%, someone else 25%, and Taysom Hill at 20%.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue. I think you can make reasons for all of them. It's kind of bizarre the way they were using Taysom Hill for the last couple of years. With not even when Drew Brees got hurt this year. Who came in, Taysom Hill, not Jameis Winston. So I think Taysom Hill will get the first crack at him, but he's a very limited in what they can do with him. He's a runner, so he's basically in anything but what Drew Brees was, So Jameis Winston obviously has all that talent in the world, but what he lacks is between his ears, and so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. A lot going on with the Saints. Good team. Of course, you got Michael Thomas, good wide receiver, so a lot going on there. And we'll see what direction they will go. Another late-breaking story in the last 30 minutes. Shaq Barrett of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers resigns with the Bucs, four-year deal, $72 million. Ryan, real quick, what are your thoughts?
It's so interesting. So, obviously being a big Bronco fan, this is a guy we picked off, an undrafted player several years ago who was just kind of the extra rusher. You had Von Miller on one side, DeMarcus Ware. When DeMarcus Ware needed a break, you bring in Shaq Barrett. He had a lot of sacks, maybe not a lot of plays. He goes to Tampa Bay and becomes an all-around good defensive player. I'm happy for him. He's a good guy. One of the foundations of what makes Tampa Bay such an interesting, choice. Yeah, I think Tampa Bay, if they can find that right quarterback back to succeed Tom Brady, this could be a team that's a contender for a long time.
And there you have it. That's our NFL news. NBA predictions for tonight. Clippers at Dallas. Ryan, who you have?
Santiago, is that even a question? Go Luka. Go
Lakers at Golden State in San Francisco.
I think the Lakers should win that one.
And poll question on Twitter. Another one. We had two, and this is the second one. What is your favorite Kansas team? Options are Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas State, Kansas City Royals, or the Kansas Jayhawks.
I'm going to go because I don't really a big fan of any of them except for – I'm not any of them, but I'm going to go with the Royals because that's the least team that bothers me. So
less annoyance. And then, of course, today is I believe today's Kansas Day, nationally Kansas Day, so that's why we have the question. And Ryan, what is the best way to reach you online to try to determine these brackets?
Mad Dog Report 18 on or Mad Dog Report, sorry, on Twitter. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. It's interesting. Like you said, we'll be back here in a couple of days to finish up the bracket, and see where we are, with COVID and all that, with all the teams. So we will have a good foundation of what's going to happen coming up starting Friday, which is interesting, having a tournament start on Friday instead of Thursday. So
I would. So here's what's going to happen. It will be played on March 18th on my birthday. The first games will be played at the Assembly Hall in Bloomington, and then Lafayette. The championship will be held on April 5th. At Lucas Oil Stadium. That's where the Colts play. And the NCAA will allow a limited number of fans for the men's tournament in each round. Each game will carry 25% capacity, not bad, with social distancing. The NC and then Virginia is the one's a question mark, but of course things can change by Wednesday and things like that. Follow us at the Sportscast1 on Twitter or at thesportscast.net for the latest. We'll definitely be announcing any late breaking news, but of course by Wednesday, come back around noon at the same time. Ryan will finish out the Elite Eight, then the Final Four, then the championship finale, and Ryan is probably going to etch it out still because I know he has some doubts, but I know he's 80% confident. Right, Ryan?
Oh, yeah. I feel good about my picks, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
I'm just going by what I see, so I don't know. So that's the magic of March Madness is there's going to be a game that we don't expect, the result to happen, and that's why no one ever gets it perfect, because no one can predict that crazy one.
Single elimination. There's no second chance. There's no second game when you play these opponents. So it's a one-off, one-all. And if you have a stomach, if one of your players, your best players, has a stomach bug, that might affect the whole matchup. But we'll see what happens. Later today, 4 p.m. Eastern, Jordan Vargas will have his first show on the Sportscast. We'll be talking NBA hoops, maybe some college. We'll see what he dabbles with. So 4 p.m. live show with Jordan Vargas, trying to flesh out what's going to happen, probably predict the Lakers and the Warriors game. And, of course, reach us at thesportscast.net or on our app, The Sportscast. But anyways, Ryan Krista, man, I can't wait for part 2.
I can't wait, too. I can't wait to see how our brackets end up here. You know, I think, and we'll go into more maybe specifics into each team when we get to Sweet 16, you know, why I like each team, what their strengths and weaknesses are, you know, and how they're going to advance and what could kill them. So look forward to that. Look forward to finishing that up, and we'll see. NFL free agency here it's already started. We're back. So
it's last started. What's going on with Houston?
They're
letting go a lot of people.
You know, I think we're going to see. I think when they gave it to Deshaun Watson, I think they'll wait for a while. I don't think there's any rush in trading him. So everybody else, like a team like Denver, who really wants him, you know, what are they going to do in the meantime with their quarterback position? So we'll see where that lies. You know, they're not going to be a very good team no matter who their quarterback is next year, the Texans. So we'll see.
We'll see what that GM from Houston came from New England. So we'll see what magic he works. So anyways, Ryan Krista is a handful because he's a hybrid, knows everything from the NCAA tournament to the Champions League. So it's a lot to bear here. Ryan, thanks for coming on to the Sportscast.
All right, Santiago. Have a good one, everybody.